Another story that is making major headlines today is the resignation that was put in by Justice Yashwant Varma. He resigned as a judge at the Allahabad High Court amidst impeachment process to remove him over corruption allegations. Varma had been under fire after the recovery of a huge stash of cash from his home in Delhi last year. He had then denied that the cash belonged to him. In his resignation letter to the president, Justice Varma did not mention any reason whatsoever for his sudden decision. This is a major development that has come in on the story today. You remember the visuals that shocked the entire country, the visuals that came from an outhouse of Justice Varma's house, where one saw cash, wads and wads of currency burning and smoke rising. We could also hear a policeman who was perhaps shooting that video saying that we can see Gandhi is burning, a comment that had made a lot of headlines. Now, what exactly has Justice Varma written in his resignation today? This resignation that has been marked to the President Droupadi Murmu says that he is going to resign from the office of the judge of the Honorable High Court at Allahabad. Further, he goes on to say that there are unfortunate circumstances that have constrained me to submit this missive. It is with deep anguish that I hereby tender my resignation from the office of Judge of the Honorable High Court of Allahabad with immediate effect. It has been an honor to serve in this office. That is the resignation letter that has been sent by Justice Varma almost a year after he was making headlines. He was embroiled in a big controversy after that money was found in an outhouse in the premise of his house. Bhavtosh, how are people interpreting this, and also what does this really mean when it comes to the impeachment process, where it stands now that he has resigned? He's now a private person. In terms of prosecution, are we really going to see anything happening on that front? Bhavtosh, can you hear me? Okay, we seem to have lost that line, but a big story coming in today. This is the story that had shaken the judiciary as well as made a lot of headlines for the kind of visuals that had come out. Look at those wads and wads of burnt notes of cash, and inquiries were later instituted. Details that came out eventually led to an impeachment motion being moved against Justice Yashwant Varma, who has today put in his papers. Bhavtosh, what next for Justice Yashwant Varma now?
Well, the inquiry commission that has been set up by the parliament, that inquiry commission or the probe that was going on would be, in fact, completely be infructuous. But he, in fact, has given his side of the story. He was to depose today, and it was expected that he will, in fact, record his statement. But it appears that inquiry commission report, or in fact, at least would not, in fact, fructify. But in his letter that he has, that has been accessed by Times Now, in the 13-page letter, he in fact has given his side of the story. Remember, for past 13 months or 14 months, he has remained silent. There have been several allegations that have been leveled against him, including the fact that allegedly that cash belongs to him. For the first time, Justice Varma has come out in open. This letter has been addressed to the Judges Inquiry Commission. He on his part has given his side of the story, in fact going into detail, mentioning that he was not in Delhi, or at least not in New Delhi. He was in a remote forested area which did not have any mobile phone connection, and also going to an extent saying that there was a public vilification of him. Being a judge, he could not in fact interact with others, and also for the first time saying that he did not have access to the CCTV footage which was in fact in possession of a CRPF person. Priya, if we can put out that letter that we have access, many things, at least Justice Varma's version, will be now out in open for the first time.
Right, but as far as his resignation is concerned, Bhavtosh, we don't really see him putting across any particular reason for why he has chosen to resign and why now.
Well, as far as Justice Verma is concerned, he had in fact tried all legal options. He tried his best to get some kind of relief from the court. Twice he had approached the Supreme Court. He in fact wanted that he gets a relief. The Supreme Court heard his side of the story. He in fact approached the Supreme Court primarily on the grounds that the inquiry commission that has been set up by the Parliament was not legally tenable. But the division bench of the Supreme Court said that within the powers of the Speaker of Lok Sabha as well as Rajya Sabha, the inquiry commission had passed, the Speaker as well as Chairman of Rajya Sabha have passed to set up this inquiry commission. He on his part had always maintained, or at least people close to him had always maintained, that Justice Verma is being framed in this case, that Justice Verma was not given enough opportunity. Remember, Priya, there were two occasions in which Justice Verma had deposed. One was the inquiry commission that was set up by Chief Justice Khanna, and the second one was the inquiry commission that has been set up by the Parliament. He did record his statement before Chief Justice Khanna's inquiry commission, but he chose to resign before he could have recorded his statement before Judges' Inquiry Commission. That is the one that was set up by the Parliament.
All right, stay on with me, Bhavtosh, because now we've also got information that Justice Verma has written a letter to the Judges' Inquiry Committee, and Priyank is now joining us for more on this. Priyank, what exactly are the contents of this letter that has been written to the inquiry panel?
Priya, this letter is basically related to the kind of submissions that Justice Yashwant Varma wanted to make it before the inquiry panel. But the fact of the matter is that this case certainly highlighted the kind of flaws which was there and the kind of submission which was made by Justice Yashwant Varma, that he was not at all aware about the money which was found from his house has fallen flat, and that's why he chose to resign, and that's how the letter has been sent to the President of India, where he has maintained that he wants to resign and he does not want to go through the workload and the kind of work pressure which was certainly there on Justice Yashwant Varma. As our colleagues have been pointing out, this was certainly related to the kind of investigation detail which was coming up and the kind of inquiry panel submission which was also submitted before the apex court, which had also found that the statement which was made by Justice Yashwant Varma, that he was not aware about the cash which was found inside the house, was wrong. What the inquiry panel had also found, that since this house was heavily protected by the central forces, it was certainly not possible for any outsider to enter in the house, and that was quite impossible for someone to enter. But the discrepancy was also pointed out when the two phone calls were made to the Delhi Fire Services. First was related to the kind of fire which was there in the house, and the second one was claiming that there was no fire in the house. But when the ACP bank officer had reached to the location, Priya, they found that there were bundles of cash which was burned.
There were several unanswered questions that were raised by the sequence of events. Several inquiry panels have since been instituted. What happens to those questions? I'm now joined on the broadcast by Mr. Mangal Prasad. He is an ex-judge. Sir, आपको क्या लगता है कि जितने सवाल उठाए गए थे, जो हुआ जस्टिस यशवंत वर्मा के घर पर, अब क्या उनके रेजिग्नेशन के साथ उन सवालों के जवाब अब हमें कभी नहीं मिलेंगे?
एक्चुअली जवाब जिसको लेना है ना, वो एजेंसीज जो है प्रॉपरली लीगल फोरम पे लीगल मैनर से विद लीगल ऑल लीगल एसेंशियल थिंग्स अगर वो पूरी करती हैं तो उससे सारे जवाब मिल जाएंगे. बट विदाउट एनी लीगल एक्शन, विदाउट एनी लीगल परफॉर्मेंस ऑफ ऑल दी नॉर्म्स जो है, वो अगर आप कुछ चाहती तो कुछ भी नहीं मिलेगा.
बट उसका प्रोसेस क्या होगा सर? ये जो चिट्ठी जस्टिस वर्मा ने अभी लिखी है, उसमें भी वो कह रहे हैं कि आई रिमेन होपफुल दैट दोज टास्क्ड विद बाय लॉ टू इन्वेस्टिगेट द मैटर विल एड्रेस द इशू फेयरली.
एक्चुअली इनिशियल स्टेज से यहाँ लीगल मिस्टेक्स, देयर आर सो मेनी लीगल लेकुनास इन दिस केस. तो ऐसे मामले में जब तक आप लीगल फोरम पे लीगल प्रोसेस नहीं अडॉप्ट करेंगे, तब तक आपको कोई भी जवाब नहीं मिलेगा प्रॉपरली. अदरवाइज आप कोई भी परिकल्पना.
बट सर, ये ओनस किसके ऊपर है ये लीगल प्रोसेस अडॉप्ट करने का?
प्रोसिक्यूशन एजेंसीज के ऊपर है ओनस. आपने कभी पूछा है कि ओनस प्रोसिक्यूशन एजेंसीज के ऊपर है? उससे हमने प्रोसिक्यूशन एजेंसी से आपने कोई क्वेश्चन किया कि आपने प्रॉपरली एफआईआर क्यों नहीं दर्ज किया? ऑन द वेरी फर्स्ट टाइम, ऑन द वेरी फर्स्ट मिनट ऑफ द इंफॉर्मेशन, you have to see. तो आप एक्चुअली जो इनिशियल क्वेश्चन है, क्वेश्चन ऑफ लॉ है, उसे ही नहीं किसी ने पॉइंट आउट किया है, तो आपको कुछ कोई भी जवाब नहीं मिल पाएगा। और ये तो रिजिग्नेशन किन आधारों पे हुआ, किन सर्कमस्टांस में हुआ, ये तो वो जज बता सकता है ना, वो लिखे होंगे उसमें अपने रिजिग्नेशन में।
और यही सब सवाल शायद उनसे आज पूछे जाने वाले थे इंक्वायरी पैनल के सामने, और यही समय उन्होंने चुना अपना रेजिग्नेशन देने का. But now my colleague Hina is joining us with the letter that he has written to the judges of the inquiry panel. Hina, what does that letter say?
Well, this is the response that we would like to show to our viewers that has been given by Justice Yashwant Varma to the Judges Inquiry Committee. And, if you look at the main points here, he's saying that, on 17th of March, when I was made aware of some of these photos, videos, I was informed that the matter was under investigation. Shortly thereafter, these videos were published on the website of the Honorable Supreme Court of India, and the entire episode was sensationally reported in the media with a clear narrative that the cash belonged to me. So he is trying to suggest whatever he has said so far, he stands by it. He's saying the undisputed factual position that I have consistently set out from the very beginning is that the storeroom was a detached structure adjacent to the staff quarters, physically separated by boundary walls from the family living quarters and my office. It was accessible from the back gate of the premises, which was not manned by any security. It was regularly used and accessed by domestic staff, maintenance personnel and others for routine chores and for storing ordinary items like unused furniture, etc. The storeroom was usually kept locked, and even when locked, the keys were never in my possession or under my instruction. So he's trying to suggest that he's got nothing to do with, what was really happening in that particular room from where a lot of cash was found. It was accessible to the domestic staff of the judge, and, he really didn't know anything about it. So that's something that he's mentioned here.
Yes, pretty much consistent with what he has been saying through and through ever since this news broke out. Thank you, Bhavtosh and Hina, for joining us with that perspective. We take a very quick break. We'll keep tracking developments